Well, time to talk about another master instead of a servant, though I suppose he's a servant in FGO as well, but whatever. After I started the series by talking about Shiro and already did a video on Ilya, I figured it's about time to talk about their old man, Kiritsugu Emiya, the mage killer, an assassin with a knack for time magic and guns, and he comes with a comparatively complex build, so I hope you guys are looking forward to some multiclassing.
If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing that I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you.
We start things off using the standard array as usual. We put 15 points into intelligence as Kiritsugu is nothing if not cunning. He can work out the strength and weaknesses of any opponent and come up with a decent plan to counter them. 14 points go into dexterity. You like to take your opponents by surprise, as such it's important that they don't notice you. In addition, your preferred method is to shoot them from afar, and most ranged weapons require a decent dex score. With 13 points in constitution, make sure that you can take a punch from that evil priest and don't lose concentration on your time auto spell. 12 points in wisdom seem appropriate for a guy like Kiritsugu, who always keeps his calm. Your charisma is a bit on the low end with 10. You aren't exactly the most social guy, but you can hold in conversation if necessary, and being persuasive can be essential when you deal with the underground. We dump strength with 8 points. I wouldn't exactly call Kiritsugu weak, but we don't really need it for this build and we never really see him perform any particular feats of strength, other than carrying around some heavy weapons maybe. As far as your race is concerned, I think it's rather evident that Kiritsugu is just a human, and because it's just better we make him a variant human. You get to increase 2 ability scores of your choice by 1, and the most sensible options at this point would be to boost both your intelligence and your constitution score to even them out. As far as your bonus proficiency is concerned, I would recommend to pick up Arcana. You might be a 3rd grade mage yourself, but since you primarily deal with other spellcasters, it's better to know what they are up to. And the main reason anyone picks the variant human, you get a free feat at level 1. We are going with the Warcaster feat. You will require concentration for quite a few spells, and why use your hands to cast when you could use them to shoot your enemies with guns? Next up, your background. Given your occupation, I think the Urban Bounty Hunter fits the best. Pick Proficiency with Deception and Stealth, as those are 2 skills any good mage killer will need. They can't fireball you if they don't see you coming. You also get to pick 2 tool proficiencies out of gaming sets, musical instruments and fuse tools. And while the later is usually what I would recommend, you don't need it here, because we are starting things out as an artificer, meaning you are already proficient with those. Tinker tools and in addition a set of tools of your choice. Pick what you want for the last one, except cooking supplies, because I'm pretty sure he had Shiro do all the cooking. You gain proficiency with light and medium armor, shields and simple weapons. But more importantly, if your DM allows it, you gain proficiency with firearms. If not, crossbows also get the job done. Don't forget to pick Sleight of Hand and Investigation to complete your mage killer skill set. You also get Magical Tinkering, which allows you to build a variety of gadgets that might come in handy for your assassination attempts. As far as your cantrips are concerned, pick up Booming Blade. This is a bit of an artistic liberty, I have to admit, but a spell that deals time delayed damage seems rather on brand and just works well with the rest of your kit. For your second one, let's pick Guidance. You're a professional after all, and a spell that improves your chance of succeeding at an important skill check seems more than appropriate. As an artificer, you prepare your spells, and Kiritsugu is all about preparation, so you make sure to always gather intel and prepare the right spells for the job. But some general recommendations would be Alarm, Detect Magic, Identify, Fairy Fire, and while he isn't really much of a healer himself, I think he manages a basic cure wounds. For your second level, we stick with Artificer for the time being. Level 2 is maybe the most important Artificer level, as you gain access to infusions, essentially free magic items. You learn 4 infusions at this level, but you can only have 2 active at the same time, so again, always pick those that are best suited for the job. I would recommend Replicate magic items to get yourself Goggles of the Night that you can wear to give yourself dark vision when needed. Next up, Enhanced Weapon is always great. You might not be an expert on the matter, but you did teach Shiro the basics of strengthening magic, and this will allow you to bypass resistances with your knife when necessary. Bit more on brand is Repeating Shot, which not only turns your ranged weapon into a +1, it also gives you essentially infinite ammunition and lets you ignore the loading property. Though perhaps the most important infusion is the Mind Sharpener. We already have Warcaster, which gives you advantage on concentration saving throws, but you know what's better? An item that lets you automatically succeed a concentration saving throw if you would have failed the roll. Very handy when you're fighting a Catholic monk who is beating you 4 times in one turn. Once you hit level 3 in Artificer, you get to pick a subclass. We pick the Artillerist, meaning you always have shield and thunderwave prepared. You also gain proficiency with smith tools or woodcutter's tools. Pick whatever fancies you more, but I think smith tools is a more appropriate one. Now you can use these smith tools to create an eldritch cannon, which you can summon as an action and use as a bonus action. Kiritsugu always picks the equipment best suited for a job, and every time you summon it you get 3 options to pick from. The flamethrower, rather self-explanatory, the force ballista if you need heavy artillery, or the protector, which does a decent job imitating your enhanced durability you have when using Avalon. Now seriously, giving yourself and your allies 1d8 plus int temporary hit points as a bonus action every turn is far more powerful than it sounds like. An Artificer in one of my games essentially carries the party through several tough encounters that way. Last but not least, you also get the right tool for the job, allowing you to create whatever artisan tool you need on the spot. I suppose you know some projection magecraft as well. Once you hit level 4, we are mixing things up a bit and take a level in Rogue. You get another skill proficiency from the Rogue list. I would recommend picking up Perception, as you always need to be aware of your surroundings. Besides that, you also gain expertise in 2 skills of your choice. And I would say that Stealth and Deception are the best picks for a man of your occupation. Besides that, you also learn how to speak Thieves' Cant, which is rather handy when you're dealing with your criminal context, like the Yakuza group operating in Fuyuki that is run by Tiger's grandfather. Yes, it's a thing, look it up. Even wondered how Shiro can afford to live in such a big house all by himself? He's the reason. But more importantly, you get Sneak Attack, which in case you're wondering, works for firearms. With your 2nd level in Rogue you gain Cunning Action, allowing you to disengage, dash or hide as a bonus action, which is perfect for the hit and run tactics that you prefer over direct combat. Also, a small side note, cantrips scale with your overall level, meaning your Booming Blade now deals an extra 1d8 thunder damage. And the best part is that the attack you make with Booming Blade also works with Sneak Attack. This is why I would recommend picking up the spell to boost your damage output a little bit. Once you hit your 6th level, you get to pick a rogue subclass. We are going with the Assassin, meaning you now have access to Assassinate, giving you advantage on attacks during the first turn of combat against creatures that haven't acted yet, and if you get them by surprise, they automatically suffer a critical hit, meaning you are great at ending combat before it even gets started. They can't fireball you if they are already dead. Besides that, you also gain proficiency with the Disguise Kit and Poison's Kit, and while we never saw Kiritsugu use either of these, seem rather on brand. Though I suppose you could say that his origin bullets are poisonous to spellcasters, so I suppose we got that covered more or less. Oh, and before I forget it, you also gain Steady Aim, an optional feature from Tasha's Squadron that allows you to give yourself advantage as a bonus action on your next attack, but you can't move for the rest of the turn. In other words, it's great for sniping. With your 4th level in Rogue, I would recommend to boost your dexterity to 16. Given that it is currently your main attack stat, you probably want to increase this one a bit. Once you hit level 5 in Rogue, you get Uncanny Dodge, potentially preventing some lethal damage. Then you get 2 more expertise at level 6, I think Perception and Investigation are rather fitting for you, so you don't miss a single detail and are prepared for everything. And finally, we reach level 7 in Rogue, granting us Evasion. The main threat when dealing with any mage is their capability to fireball you, and with this, you can completely avoid taking any damage, a must-have for any mage killer. Now that we got Evasion, we can move on to the next class. At the end of the day, Kiritsugu is a mage, so once you reach level 11, it's time to take up the mantle of a wizard. Note, you don't have to pick these classes in this order, it's just easier to structure the video like this. As a level 1 wizard, you gain Arcane Recovery, 3 more cantrips and 6 level 1 spells. For your cantrips, I would recommend Minor Illusion, always great for a small distraction to take your enemy by surprise, Prestidigitation because it's always great to have, and Mold Earth. You might be wondering why, but it's mostly because Kiritsugu has a natural affinity for the Earth attribute, and you can get rather creative with the spell. For your spells, pick Find Familiar, so you can have your familiar carry around a surveillance camera, or whatever you can build with magical tinkering, Mage Armor, while you are proficient with medium armor, and Kiritsugu would probably not have a problem with wearing body armor when the job calls for it, you prefer to keep a low profile and wear a stylish suit instead. So we need something to boost your AC. Jump and Long Strider for extra mobility, Snare to set up traps, and last but not least, Comprehend Language. You are an assassin that operates all over the world. Understanding the locals is pretty important for your job. Now, one thing that has been missing a bit from this build so far is time magic, which is sorta your whole deal. But good news, there is actually a subclass for that. So once you reach your 2nd level in Wizard, pick Chronology as your subclass. This gives you 2 features: Chrono Shift, allowing you to use your reaction to force one creature within 30 feet to do a reroll on an attack, ability check or saving throw twice per day, and Temporal Awareness, allowing you to add your intelligence modifier to your initiative rolls. So you are pretty fast, but maybe you want to go even faster. The funny thing about Chronology magic is that it has some exclusive spells not available to any other subclass, like Gift of Alacrity. This handy spell lets you, or any other creature you cast it on, add 1d8 to your initiative rolls. Best part is, this spell lasts for 8 hours and doesn't require concentration. So yeah, with that bonus you should reliably be able to go first. And remember, your assassination feature gives you advantage against all creatures that haven't acted yet. The other spell you should pick is Silvery Barbs, because it does more or less the same as your Chrono Shift feature. And you can also give yourself advantage on the next attack roll to make sure that you get Sneak Attack. Some people think the spell is broken, but I played enough with it to disagree with that notion. You have a lot of reactions to choose from at this point, and it's not always the best option. Once you hit level 3, you get cantrip formulas from Tasha's Cauldron, if your DM allows it, allowing you to swap out one cantrip every long rest. You also get 2 more spells. You also gain access to level 2 spells. Pick Hold Person, as its synergy with Sneak Attack is amazing, and guess what? Mages are persons that you want to hold. And we know for a fact that Kiritsugu has some experience with paralyzing people. The other spell you should pick is Fortune's Favor, another Chronology spell. This spell lasts 1 hour and doesn't require concentration, and once, while the spell is active, you can just say that you roll an additional d20 for an ability check, attack roll or saving throw, and pick the better result, which you can use to balance out any disadvantage. It's a pretty nifty spell. The downside, however, is that the spell consumes a pearl with at least 100 GP whenever you cast it. I call this the pay to win spell, but sometimes you really need to succeed. With your 4th level in Wizard, you can increase your intelligence to 18 to make you better at spellcasting, and it even increases your initiative further. You also get 2 more spells. Pick Enhance Ability for your run-of-the-mill Strengthen Magic, and Knock. You most likely want to use your Thieves Tools when you can, but sometimes the DC is too high, and mages are probably rather fond of the Arcane Lock spell, which the spell suppresses. And now it's time to alter time a bit more, because with your 5th level in Wizard, you finally get level 3 spells, letting you pick Haste and Slow. Haste is pretty much what Kiritsugu's magic is all about. A buff that makes you faster, giving you an extra action on your turn and doubling your movement speed. The greatest drawback of the spell is that it stuns you for a turn if it ends, which can be rather nasty in combat. But with Warcaster and the Mind Sharpener, this shouldn't happen. Slow, on the other hand, is mostly here because it's time related. Kiritsugu has never displayed the capability to slow down time for others, and it's questionable if he could, but it is a time related spell and potentially rather powerful. So I think we can take it with some artistic liberty. With your 6th level in Chronology Wizard, you get Momentary Stasis, essentially allowing you to freeze an enemy in time for a turn, which might be able to save you and your companions in combat. More importantly though, you get 2 more spells. Pick Counterspell and Dispel Magic, perhaps the most important spells for a Mage Killer to have. They can't fireball you if you counterspell them, unless they are counterspelling your counterspell. Once you hit level 7 in Wizard, you gain access to level 4 spell slots. Here we are taking some artistic liberties again, and pick some spells that are more something that suit Kiritsugu rather than something he can actually do. And for that I would recommend Confusion, because he certainly causes some confusion when he blew up the total, and Greater Invisibility, which however isn't so far-fetched when you consider that he's an assassin servant in Fake Order with an A+ rank in Presence Concealment, which essentially does turn him invisible. Once you hit level 8, you get your last ability score improvement. Here I want to give a shout out to the Mage Slayer feat, because it's very much on brand for Kiritsugu. And I would like to pick it, but I think boosting your dex score to 18 is a bit more important right now. You also gain 2 more spells, and I think the best pick for you are Locate Person, so you have an easier time tracking down your target, and to go with your Presence Concealment, Non-Detection to bypass any nasty divination spells to ensure that they don't see you coming. With your 9th level in Wizard, you gain access to level 5 spells. Pick Gears. It doesn't quite work as the Gears contract you made with Kenneth, but it's close enough and you can still use it to force him to kill his own Servant. Moreover, you get Temporal Shunt, which allows you to send an enemy that attacks you into the future for one turn, which again is probably something Kiritsugu can't do, but do you know how often I get to talk about these time spells? And then we close things off as a level 10 wizard. This gives you access to Arcane Abeyance, which lets you condense a spell into a small marble that you can give to another person or use yourself to cast any spell as an action, or rather to release a spell you do the casting. The neat part of this is that you can bypass longer casting times in combat with this. Got a 10-minute spell, where you can cast it before combat and release it as an action. You don't really have any spells that really benefit from that though. Bummer. Now it would be cool if you could use the bead as a bullet and shoot someone with it, releasing the spell on a hit, which would be a nice way to mimic your origin bullets, but sadly the beads lose its power when destroyed. But it can be used in a variety of situations where you might not be able to cast otherwise, or you can hand it to one of your companions so they can use it. In addition to that, you gain 2 more level 5 spells. First off, Hold Monster. It's the same as Hold Person, but works on pretty much everything, so yeah, it's good. The other spell, well, I would recommend Steel Wind Strike. You know that thing in anime when the main character vanishes for a second, reappears, and suddenly a bunch of people get cut simultaneously? This spell essentially does that, and it seems rather appropriate. You could say that Kiritsugu accelerates time to such a degree that he seemingly attacks dozens of people at the same time, faster than the eye can see, which is kinda how Emiya Assassin's noble phantasm, Kronos Rose, works. Only that Kronos Rose is a single target attack, while Steel Wind Strike hits multiple targets. But I think it's close enough. And that's Kiritsugu for ya. I think the split is pretty good at the things it's supposed to do, that being killing wizards. And you got a rather versatile skill set, but I think the individual parts maybe lack a bit of synergy. Booming Blade somewhat makes up for the sneak attack damage you miss out on, and I think the spells are overall more useful than the rogue features you would get otherwise. What you really excel at though is supported utility. You have a great variety of spells and features that let you help your allies in combat, so I do think this build can be rather fun to play. It just takes some levels to come together. But what do you think? Would you build Kiritsugu differently? What Fate character do you want me to build next? Let me know in the comments below. I am Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well.